ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामीति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य शतारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Prabhu, if you just give me that talk. Thank you. So I'd like to welcome Yogesh Prabhu, Sita Komal Mataji and Rajeshwari Mataji for joining online. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Dhanavad, Prabhu. So everyone kindly
Recording
repeat.
in progress.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana.
Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Deha Karoyena Chaitanya Varnana.
Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana.
Jaya Jaya Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Gana.
Shakti Deha Kore Yena Chaitanya Varnana.
Shakti Deha Karoyena Chaitanya Varnana.
So by the blessings of all the devotees, we will continue our discussion of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita chapter 4, the confidential reasons for the Lord's appearance. And in our last session, His Holiness Bhakti Vaishnava Maharaj explained so beautifully verses 121 to 128, and in a lot of depth and so much realization. Maharaj discussed those verses. So this will be a disappointment compared to the previous session, but you'll have to tolerate it because Maharaj obviously can't be here for every session. So I just want to manage your expectations. So this Maharaj, he started discussing the first unfulfilled desire of Krishna. So we are halfway through this chapter, and so far we have learned many deep subjects in this chapter. We learned that what's the real reason for Krishna coming to this world? Why does he really come? Yes, externally he comes to extinguish the demons, establish dharma, protect the devotees. But the real reason Kaviraj Goswami shares that he comes to do what? Yeah, so he comes to,
Perform the Lila.
and he comes to exchange loving relationships with his devotees and demonstrate to the world that that we all can, have this relationship with Krishna. So he comes to exchange these loving relationships and give us access to these wonderful loving exchanges that we all can participate in. And then we learnt what is the identity of Lord Caitanya. Who is Lord Caitanya? What is his identity? That is in the 5th Mangala Charan that was explained in this chapter. And Lord Caitanya is, who is he? Yes, he's Krishna, but he has the mood of Srimati Radharani. And that's why he has the golden complexion. And then we heard that who's Radharani? So in order to understand Radharani's bhav, Kaviraj Goswami explains that, what is the position of Srimati Radharani? And what is her position? So Ladini Shakti means what? It is that Shakti, that potency of the Lord that gives pleasure to the Lord. This is how the Lord experiences bliss or pleasure. Through what? Not through something external, but through his divine potency called the Ladini Shakti. And Radharani is the personification of this Ladini Shakti. So this is the Shakti that gives Krishna pleasure. And after that we learned that Krishna comes, he demonstrated his Vraj Leela, and he had so many loving exchanges in his childhood, in his youth, in his adolescence. But yet, even having these wonderful exchanges with his devotees, he was still unfulfilled, which is like inconceivable to us. The Lord himself comes and he has so many interactions, so many leelas, but yet there are 3 unfulfilled desires that he leaves the world with. And these are the 3 unfulfilled desires that are mentioned in this chapter. And we just started to discuss the first one. And what is the first one? That Krishna is the subject of everybody's love, and especially Radharani's love. And Radharani's love is so great that it perplexes Krishna. It makes Krishna wonder that he is the Supreme Lord, but there's something that seems to be greater than him. And what is that? It is the love of Srimati Radharani. And what does he want to do? What does he want to do? Yes, so he wants to understand what it means to be the lover. Because the lover apparently is tasting more happiness. So that's one reason why, the outcome of the greatness of our love is what? She tastes more happiness. And then her love is also, just like Krishna's qualities sometimes are contradictory. Right? The Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna is the smallest of the smallest and greatest of the greatest. Right? He's in our hearts as the Paramatma. Right? And yet, he's in the, in the gigantic, mountains, oceans. Everything belongs to him. All the universes coming out of his breathing. And that Mahavishnu is just a plenary portion of the Supreme Lord. So he's so great, but yet he's the smallest of the smallest. He is the personification of dharma, yet he transcends dharma. He apparently does things that violate moral codes in this world. And similarly, Radharani also has contradictory qualities. And what is that? That even the last verse that we discussed, that's 128. Radha preme vibhu jara bodhite nahi thani. What does that mean? That Radharani's love is all pervasive. It's perfect in its being. It's everywhere. Yet, there is room for expansion. It's ever expanding. So to our minds that doesn't make sense. That how can something be pervasive, all pervasive, and yet there is room for expansion? But that is the nature of her love. And Maharaj explained that last time. And then in verse number 29 and 30, further discusses these contradictory qualities. So the second one is that there is nothing greater than her love. Yet, it is devoid of pride. Usually when someone is, great in this world, what accompanies that greatness? Pride. But in Radharani's case, even though she has something that even bewilders Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet there is no pride in her. And why is there no pride in her? Why is there no pride? Yes, Prabhu.
Maybe because she knows that by the mode of seva, the opportunity that she's getting is more than the feeling of that opportunity. What she gets is more than anything else. So there is no need for any pride.
Okay.
She's so engrossed in serving Krishna that she doesn't have, she's not even thinking about anything else.
Okay, nice.
Because
She's part of Krishna and hence there is no separation. So if something is separated, then somebody would have pride of having something.
Okay.
She's doing for his enjoyment, not for her.
Yes. This is what is the real reason. Why she doesn't have pride? Because she's offered herself completely to Krishna. So when we do something for someone else's pleasure, with no expectations, then what happens? Is there room for ego? Is there room for pride? So what does Lord Caitanya say in his last verse in the Shikshastakam? Yes, yatha tatha tulam pato mat pranana tu seva. So you are my Lord unconditionally. So when someone has offered themselves in a completely surrendered way, and they're only doing things for the pleasure of the Lord, then what is there to be proud about? They've given up everything, they've given themselves. So there's no room for false ego. Usually when we do things in this world, what happens? There's so much expectation. The smallest of the smallest things we do, we're expecting something, if not physically, but at least some honor, some recognition, some emotional acknowledgement. But this whole training of Krishna consciousness is to get us away from this. Starting from Nishkam Karma Yoga. That is like the first step on the ladder, or the second step on the ladder. Right in the beginning, Krishna is teaching us that you have the right to perform your duty, but you're not entitled to the results. So this consciousness to build, this is the preliminary requirement to actually experience love of Krishna. Unless we develop this Nishkam Bhav, that we do the things that Krishna is asking us to do and not expect something in return. It's very difficult for the conditioned soul. And this is why most of us, we remain so disappointed in this world. Because we have so many expectations. So in one sense it may seem inhuman. That what are you saying, Prabhu? No expectations. But this is the training that Krishna is giving us, that yes, when we do things for Krishna's pleasure, because Krishna is requesting us, He's asking us, as a well-wisher, as a father, He's telling us that this will help you. And for some time it may seem we're not getting anything. In fact, it may seem that we're getting more into trouble, that our life is becoming more disruptive, our life is becoming, more problems are coming. I came to Krishna consciousness thinking, all bliss, but bliss bar seems to be, totally not there at all. In fact, things become sometimes even more difficult. So what to do? But this is the part of the purification. Because unless we develop this selfless attitude, it's almost impossible to love the way that Krishna wants us to love Him. It's not that we have to be pure from the start, but at least there has to be an aspiration. If we keep putting conditions throughout our journey, then what will happen? We'll not make much progress. So yes, in the beginning we have expectations, and it's natural we have expectations. But the expectation of following this process is what? That our material expectations reduce. And that we gain that conviction that yes, I want to do the right thing to please Krishna, even though people in this world may not be pleased with us. Always. Sometimes they're pleased, sometimes they're not pleased, even when we do the right things. And it's painful. And then we begin to wonder, should we continue? Is it worth it? Let's just become like them. So when we become like them, then what happens? Do we gain anything? See, someone is ill-treating us. We are trying our best, but someone still ill-treats us. Then we say, okay, let's get on the offensive. What happens? Do we actually gain anything? It may appear, but ultimately what happens? Do we really gain anything? What happens to our consciousness?
It goes down.
Yeah, it spirals downward. So instead of going beyond the issue and raising our consciousness beyond that problematic state of consciousness and transcending, what happens? We
go down.
Yes. You just think of any experience. I know, like sometimes when I lose my temper, when I get frustrated, ultimately what happens?
First thing it affects the chanting.
It affects the chanting. What else does it do? Does it really help the situation? Does it really improve the situation?
Makes it worse.
Makes it worse. We all have this experience. So that day, someone was quoting Mother Teresa. I can't remember, in one of the talks. He says, be good anyway. Right? Means do the right thing anyway. Even though you may not receive what you are expecting. And this is the training, this is the tapasya. This is to help us, what? Ultimately, the problems of the world are not going to go. So the Gita never says that the world will never have any problems. Everything will be ideal. Everything will be, peace, and there will be harmony, and there will be all love and reciprocation. Where's the guarantee for that? In fact, Krishna keeps reminding us this is a difficult place. And either we can get caught up in these issues and these difficulties, or we can pray to Krishna for strength to raise our consciousness so that we can float over these problems. And it's not easy. It's not easy, but what is the choice? So if you really want to make progress in our Krishna consciousness, it requires a lot of surrender. Surrendering our expectations, surrendering our pride, surrendering our false ego. And in that surrender, we experience a lot of joy. Even when it is not complete, still, when you'll see, whenever you try to do the right thing, there is some strength that we receive. There's some blessing that we get. We don't know where it's coming from. We know everything comes from the Lord. The Lord reciprocates. We can all experience that when we are selfless, when we let our egos aside, when we get down on the floor with humility. We experience some freedom. There's a freedom that we experience. Because what happens? The ego binds us, makes things so complex, and but when we let go, and there is a joy that we all experience. And this is a fundamental teaching of our scriptures. tapasya, tapodivyam. And another contradictory feature of Radharani's love is that it's completely pure. It's the purest. Yet its behavior is always perverse and crooked. How do we understand that? Huh?
Because it is Parakiya Bhav.
No, not it. Yeah, it appear, okay, you could say that, but the main thing is that it's explained that sometimes Radharani feels jealous. That in the Ras Leela, what happens? Who leaves the Rasa dance? Yeah, she leaves. Why does she leave? Huh?
She was jealous that Krishna.
Yeah, she's feeling jealous. There's so many gopis dancing. Krishna is dancing with so many gopis. So she takes a step aside. And she goes into the bushes and she starts sulking. Now you can say, why is that? And if her love is so pure, then why is she getting jealous? This we can't understand with our material consciousness. This takes... so it's explained that Radharani is so keen to give Krishna pleasure. So sometimes when she sees that there is interference, then she acts in this way, which appears crooked, but her real intent is what? Her real intent is to give Krishna the highest pleasure. And this is all confirmed by Rupa Goswami's verse in 131. He says, all glories to Radha's love for Krishna, the enemy of the demon Mura. Although it is all-pervading, it tends to increase at every moment. Although it is important, it is devoid of pride. And although it is pure, it is always beset with duplicity. She's kind of summarized all the 3 verses that Kaviraj Goswami has explained, these contradictions. This is Kaviraj Goswami again. Whatever he asserts, or whatever he shares with us, he supports it with a statement from the scriptures. And now Krishna, he's going to reveal. Let us recite this verse, 132. Shai preme Shri Radhika Parama Ashraya. Shai preme Rami Hoya Kevala Vishaya. So Shri Radhika is the highest abode of that love, and I am its only subject. Although it's written object, it should be subject. Vishaya means subject. Krishna is the subject of Radharani's love. And this is explained right in the beginning of the chapter. If you open right in the beginning where there's an introduction to this chapter. Srila Prabhupada writes, he says, the first purpose was to relish the position of Srimati Radharani, who is the prime reciprocator of transcendental love of Sri Krishna. Lord Krishna is the reservoir of transcendental loving transactions with Srimati Radharani. Now listen to this. He says, the subject of those loving transactions is the Lord Himself. So who's the subject of the loving transactions? The Lord Himself. Bishoya. In Bengali, Bishoya means subject. Vishaya means subject. Thus the subject Lord wanted to relish the loving mellow in the position of the object Radharani. So what does Krishna want to do? Or what's he feeling? That Radharani, as the object of the love, is experiencing is much more happiness. And her love is so great that he wants to switch roles. He wants to take her position. He wants to experience love from her position. And all the contradictory emotions that she goes through, he wants to experience that. So that's his first unfulfilled desire. He says in 134, Ashraya jatiya sukha paite manadhaya
Ashraya jatiya sukha paite manadhaya
Yatna asvadite nare ki kore upaya. My mind races to taste the pleasure experienced by the abode, but I cannot taste it even by my best efforts. So Krishna is thinking, how am I going to taste this? How am I going to relish the experience of love that Radharani is experiencing? Then he thinks that if I can be that abode of love, then may I taste its joy. And Prabhupada explains in the purport that Vishaya and Ashraya are two very significant words relating to the reciprocation between Krishna and his devotee. The devotee is called the Ashraya and his beloved Krishna is the Vishaya. And there are different emotions involved in the exchange of love between the Ashraya and Vishaya. And Prabhupada mentions them, Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvika and Vyabhichari. So all these I will, these are all explained in the Nectar of Devotion. And you can all read them there. In fact, in the notes I'll send you. And interestingly, Prabhupada writes one thing. Although he explains these qualities, he says something really interesting, which I want to read to you. So here it's mentioned Vibhava and Anubhava. So Srila Prabhupada writes, after explaining these two, what they are, this is what Prabhupada writes in the purport in the Nectar of Devotion. He says, no one, while remaining on the material platform, should discuss these different descriptions of bhav and anubhav by quoting different statements of transcendental literatures. Such manifestations are displays of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. One should simply try to understand that on the spiritual platform that there are many varieties of reciprocal love. So what's Prabhupada saying? What has he just said? It's not there in this purport. It's there this is from the Nectar of Devotion.
So all these bhavs are beyond our understanding.
Yes. And he says that one should simply try to understand that on the spiritual platform there are many varieties of reciprocal love. Now if we try to understand each one and try to analyze it and objectively try to understand, will we be able to understand at our level? Very little. And if you get bogged down that, why am I not understanding this and why am I not understanding that? This is so confusing. This emotion and that emotion. I can't understand. Then what will happen?
Lack of enthusiasm.
Yeah, there'll be lack of enthusiasm. Because we're trying to digest more than our system allows. So you're trying to feed things to the body that can't digest. Then what happens? We suffer. So that's why Prabhupada is cautioning us that he says such loving exchanges should never be considered to be material. In fact, he says in the Mahabharata, Udyam Parva, it is warned that things that are inconceivable should not be subjected to arguments. Actually, the transactions of the spiritual world are inconceivable to us in the present state of life. Great liberated souls like Rupa Goswami and others have tried to give us some hints of transcendental activities in the spiritual world. But on the whole, these transactions will remain inconceivable to us at the present moment. And when can we understand this? Prabhupada says, this is only possible when one is actually in touch with the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord. Yes. Okay. So, thinking in this way, Lord Krishna was curious to taste that love. His eager desire for that love increasingly blazed in his heart. Now, just imagine. Krishna is blazing with this desire to switch roles. He wants to take the position of the lover, the ashraya. Okay, so this is first unfulfilled desire. Now, Kaviraj Goswami, he's going to start discussing the second unfulfilled desire. He says, Ei eka suno ara lobhera prakara Swamadhurya dekhi Krishna kore na vichara. So Swamadhurya dekhi, seeing his own sweetness, his own beauty, Krishna began to consider. Korena vichar. He begins to deeply consider. Now let's recite 138. It's a beautiful verse. Adbhuta ananta purna mora madhurima Tri jagate ihara keha nahi pae sima. He says, my sweetness is wonderful. Adbhut. It is infinite, ananta. It is complete, it is full, it is purna. And he says there's no one in the three worlds that can find its limit. Tri jagate ihara keha nahi payasima. So no one in the three worlds can ascertain what the limit of Krishna's beauty and sweetness is. But there is one person who can do that. And he reveals that in 139. He says, Ei prema dware nitya radhika ekili. Ei prema dware nitya radhika ekili. Amara madhuramrita asvadade sakali. Amara madhuramrita asvadade sakali. So only Radhika How is she able to taste this nectar of His sweetness? By the strength of her love. Preme dwara, by the means of her selfless love, she is able to taste this. And Kaviraj Goswami explains, now he gives this beautiful explanation that how Radharani's love is so pure like a mirror. And its purity is increasing at every moment. That Krishna's sweetness reflects so clearly in the mirror, it shines brightly. And it appears newer and newer in the mirror of our heart. Krishna's beauty appears newer and newer, sweeter and sweeter. And as Radharani experiences this sweetness, Krishna's sweetness also increases. So the more Radharani appreciates Krishna's sweetness also increases. And they both go on increasing. Shane shane bode donha keha nahi hari. Kaviraj Goswami is saying in 142. Keha nahi hari. That means they are not able to defeat each other. Each one remains undefeated. One in appreciating the sweetness, and one in displaying his sweetness. So Krishna's beauty, Krishna's sweetness, it keeps expanding, and Radharani's appreciation also keeps expanding. And each one remains undefeated. And it remains Amara Madhurya Nitya Nava Nava Hoy.
Amara Madhurya Nitya Nava Nava Hoy.
Swa Swa Premayana Rupa Bhakta Asvadoy.
Swa Swa Premayana Rupa Bhakta Asvadoy.
So Krishna's sweetness is always Nava Nava, newer and newer, and each devotee tastes it according to their own respective love. On how they reciprocate with Him, they taste this love. And he says, when I see the sweetness in a mirror, I am tempted to taste it, but nevertheless, I cannot. So when Krishna sees the sweetness, his own sweetness in the mirror, he gets perplexed. He gets bewildered. He wants to taste it. But then he says, I can't taste it. If I deliberate on a way to taste it, I find that I hanker for the position of Radhika. So he's saying, Vichar Koriya Jodi Asvada Upay. 45. So what is the Upay? Radhika Swarup Hoite Tobe Manodhai. So if I take the position of Srimati Radharani, then I can understand my sweetness. And Prabhupada writes such a beautiful purport. He says, Krishna's attractiveness is wonderful and unlimited. No one can know the end of it. Srimati Radharani alone can relish such extensiveness from her position in the Ashraya category. And Prabhupada beautifully explains, he says, the mirror of Srimati Radharani's transcendental love is perfectly clear, yet it appears clearer and clearest in the transcendental method of understanding Krishna. In the mirror of Radharani's heart, the transcendental features of Krishna appear increasingly new flesh. In other words, the attraction of Krishna increases in proportion to the understanding of Srimati Radharani. So the more Srimati Radharani appreciates Krishna's sweetness, Krishna also, his sweetness also increases proportionately. Each tries to supersede the other. Neither wants to be defeated in increasing the intensity of love. Desiring to understand Radharani's attitude of increasing love, Lord Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Such a beautiful purport. And again, he shares these beautiful verses from Srila Rupa Goswami, and then after a few verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And Rupa Goswami is explaining the same thing in Lalita Madhava, that he's revealing the mind of Krishna, that alas, I myself, my mind bewildered upon seeing this beauty, impetuously desired to enjoy it like Srimati Radharani. Let's recite these next few verses. These are very beautiful verses about Krishna's beauty and sweetness. Krishna madhurera eka swabhivika bala, Krishna adi nara nari kore chanchala. So what does the beauty of Krishna do? It thrills the hearts of all men and women. Krishna adi nara nari kore chanchal. And beginning with whom? The Lord Himself. Shravane darshane akarshaya sarvamana. Apana asvadite Krishna korena jotana. So everyone becomes attracted by hearing Krishna's sweet voice and flute, or by seeing His beauty. Krishna is the all-attractive. But even Lord Krishna Himself makes efforts to taste that sweetness. And the thirst of one who always drinks the nectar of that sweetness is never satisfied. Because what happens? Trishna shanti nahi trishna bode nirantara. Rather, the thirst increases constantly. So someone who has seen the beauty of Krishna, what happens? They become even more thirsty. And now, these are very, very beautiful verses. It says, Atripta hoya kore vidhira nindana. Atripta hoya kore vidhira nindana. Avikta vidhi bhala na jane srijana. So such a person being unsatisfied, what does he start to do? They begin to blaspheme Lord Brahma, saying that, you know what, you're so inexperienced that you don't know how to create properly. Your creation has a flaw. And what's that flaw? Koti netra nahi dila sobe dila dui. Tahete nimisha Krishna ki dekhibi muni. So such a person who has tasted the beauty of Krishna, he's telling Lord Brahma that why you gave us only 2 eyes. We need millions and millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. And even those 2 eyes that you've given, they're always blinking. And then they have to go to sleep at night. They have to close your eyes. So then how will I see the lovely face of Krishna? There's these beautiful verses in the Bhagavatam that the gopis are expressing. They're expressing their disappointment with Lord Brahma. Saying, what kind of a creator are you? That we are not able to see Krishna's sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curling hair. And look at the depth of their love. They're saying half a second becomes as long as an entire age for us. Yugaitam nimishena. As we consider the Creator who has put these eyelids on the eyes we are using for seeing, you to be simply a fool. We wish we could feel like this. This is our aspiration. The gopis are saying, what? So foolish. You give us 2 eyes, first of all, and those eyes also blink. And the moment they blink, what happens? It disrupts our vision. And that little moment seems like what? Yes. Like a millennium has passed. And this is how the gopis, they felt when they saw Krishna in Kurukshetra. Just in their minds, in their hearts, they secured and embraced him in their hearts through their eyes. And they attained a joy so intense that not even the perfect yogis can attain it. And as they were experiencing this joy, the gopis cursed the Creator for creating eyelids that interfered with their vision. This is the real perfection of our vision. Krishna valokana vina netra phala nahi aana. Je jane Krishna dekhe sei bhagyavan. So there is no consummation for the eyes. There is no perfection for the eyes other than the sight of Krishna. Whoever sees him is most fortunate indeed. And again, these beautiful verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. The gopis are also expressing that just to behold the beautiful face of whom? The sons of Nanda Maharaj. As the 2 sons enter the forest surrounded by their friends, driving the cows before them, they hold their flutes to their mouths and glance lovingly upon the residents of Vrindavan. For those who have eyes, we think there is no greater object of vision. And Prabhupada, just see how encouraging he is in the purport. What's he saying? He says, like the gopis, one can see Krishna continuously if one is fortunate enough. In the Brahma Samhita it is said that sages whose eyes have been smeared with the ointment of pure love can see the form of Shyam Sundar continuously in the centers of their hearts. This text is from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10.21.7, was sung by the gopis on the advent of the Sharad season. And the women of Mathura, they also expressed, they said, what austerities must the gopis have performed? With their eyes they always drink the nectar of the form of Lord Krishna, which is the essence of loveliness and is not to be equalled or surpassed. That loveliness is the only abode of beauty, fame and opulence. It is self-perfect, ever fresh and extremely rare. So we don't, most of us, we are not able to behold the form of the Lord in our eyes. And Srila Prabhupada has given these wonderful windows to the spiritual world in the form of these beautiful paintings. Krishna with his mother, with his friends, with the gopis. So many beautiful paintings. And this is one of the most amazing contributions that Srila Prabhupada has given us. That even though we can't see, and of course we have the deities. So the deities and these paintings is to help us develop this vision of seeing Krishna everywhere and getting some experience of the beauty of Krishna. I remember when my father became a life member of iskcon, when I was like 7 years old. So every year he would give donations, especially during Janmashtami and Diwali. And then the devotees would give all these posters. So we had these posters in our house. Although none of us were Krishna conscious in the real sense, or trying to be Krishna conscious. But there were these beautiful paintings in our house. And there was this, in our house you have seen, right now the painting has been taken off, but there's a picture of Krishna with a flute sitting on the rock on the banks of the Yamuna. He's alone, right? He's just a peacock there. And you've seen that picture in our house? It used to be there in this birch court when we were staying in birch court. So that photo, right, or that picture of Krishna, that painting. So for me, that has always been, this is how Krishna looks. So when I went to boarding school when I was 10 years old, so I had a little vinyl cover. So on one side, it's like a vinyl frame. So one side there was this picture, and the other side I had written a prayer, and from one of the books of the Ramakrishna Mission, I had written a prayer. It was like a very inspirational prayer, so I wrote it and I kept it in that vinyl cover. And for me, that was Krishna. So I took that vinyl cover and I put it under my pillow. So it was always under my pillow in my boarding school. So throughout all my years of school, and then even when I went to the US, I had this vinyl cover. And somehow, coming back, moving back to India in 2002, I lost that. Somehow in the packing, I don't know where it disappeared. So it was a big disappointment for me when I lost that. But that was such a shelter always, to see that picture, to see, Krishna with his flute, and he looks so beautiful, so attractive, and just by keeping, that the vinyl cover just under my pillow for so many years, then it had its effect later on when I went to college. That somehow I got attracted by the teachings of Lord Krishna. You never know how Krishna's mercy works.
So from the pillow, Krishna was talking to you.
I don't know, he's not talking, but I never felt like that, but and somehow we also have these Bhagavatam sets. So the Bhagavatam set was kept in one of these book racks that was impossible to access. It was on top of my bed. So I would sleep under that book rack, but that book rack would remain closed for many, many years, and no one actually read the Bhagavatam. I think my father may have pulled it out a few times, but these were these small Bhagavatam black colored, sets.
44 volume?
Huh?
Was it 44 volume?
44 volume set, yes. So Krishna's beauty is, there's no greater object of vision. And you can see how the gopis and the ladies of Mathura are appreciating the gopis for their vision. And now we will just 2 more verses and then we will conclude our session. So let's recite the last few verses. Apurva madhuri krishnera apurva tara bala jahare shravane mana hoy talamala. So it's apurva. His beauty is apurva. It's unprecedented. And its strength is also unprecedented. And jahara shravana mane hoy talamala. So simply by hearing of such beauty, one's mind becomes unsteady. Krishnera madhurya Krishna upajaya lobha. Krishnera madhurya Krishna upajaya lobha. Samyak asvadite nare mane rahe shobha. Samyak asvadite nare mane rahe shobha. So Krishna's own beauty attracts Krishna himself. But because he cannot enjoy it, his mind remains full of sorrow. Hare Krishna. So this is the description of the second desire. So such a beautiful description of Krishna's sweetness and the ability of Radharani to appreciate that sweetness and expand constantly her appreciation. And what does that do? That makes Krishna expands his beauty and sweetness. And both remain undefeated. And this is going on eternally. Again, this is inconceivable to us. So thank you all very much for hearing so patiently this beautiful narration by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explaining the second unfulfilled desire of Krishna. And the third one coming up is so amazingly explained. It's like if you thought this was a treat, there's a bigger treat coming. So no, so we've covered what? The first unfulfilled desire is what? What is the first?
To experience power of love.
Radharani's love.
Love.
Radharani's love. To experience Radharani's love.
More specific.
How to serve, experience that.
Yeah, so he wants to experience the greatness of her love. And for that, what does he have to do?
He has to serve.
He has to switch positions. He has to take her position. So that is his first unfulfilled desire, because he thought, my God, her love is so great. So I need to experience that. Even though I am experiencing all these wonderful loving exchanges with my friends, the gopis, my parents, but yet something's missing. 3 things were missing. One is the experience of the greatness of Radharani's love. The experience of the ashraya. Second is what we discussed today.
Krishna is attracted by his own beauty.
Yes.
And he actually cannot fulfill it.
He cannot experience his own beauty the way Radharani is able to experience it.
Which fulfills the soul.
Yes.
So he remains in sorrow.
So I hope that is clear now. So if you have any other questions or any other... Yes, Sheetal Mataji, Sita Komal Mataji, you have a question?